In this video, I will talk about DAX info functions. Prior to that, let us try to look at this report page. On the right, you can see these are the measures which I have created over time. And in case if I want to look at all the measures, what I could do is I can go to a DAX query view. And let me just go to DAX query view on the left hand side, click on it. And then I can go to any of those measures and right click on that measure and say click on quick queries. And if I select define all measures in this model, all the measures will be shown here as you can see on the screen. These are the different measures which I've created over time. And in case if you want to define additional measures, you can define them. You can update model with changes. You can make any kind of edits to those measures as well. So once we have this information, we know these are the various measures in our model, right? Instead of going to each and every display folder and looking at the measure, we have all those things at a glance. We can see all those measures, right? So in case if you want to do something, you want to edit the measure, or you want to understand how that measure is working, you can do that. In case if you make any changes, you can update the model. Once you update, those measures will be in your data model. And next, what I could do is I will go to model view, and in model view, if I select the table, say this table, for example, there are certain calculated columns as well. So I want to look at what is the code, a DAX code, which I've used. And if I want to see what are the calculated columns. And the reason why we have to know is that in case the need is that if you want to create documentation, or maybe do some audit of your semantic model, it will be nice if there is an easier way to get the semantic model details, the measures, calculated columns, relationships, etc. Right? So in these situations, info functions are pretty handy. So let us try to understand what are those info functions. Let me try to close this query, and let me just close this. And in Power BI, info functions are a set of DAX functions that are used to retrieve metadata and information about the data model, environment, and query execution. And we can think of info functions as the X-ray vision for your Power BI model. They are DAX functions that return metadata instead of data. In other words, you see a table listing every measure, column, and relationship you have built. So in a single table, you can see all those things. Essentially, they are the Power BI version of SQL DMVs, which are perfect for keeping your model organized and transparent. Most of these are used in DAX query view to audit or document your work, but there are a special set of functions called as info.view functions, which can be even used to create an automatic live data dictionary directly in your model. So let us try to look at some of these functions. If I go to DAX query view, if I click on info dot, you can see those are the various functions. Say for example, randomly, let me click this particular function. It will return information about the calculation dependency for a query, right? If I run this, I can see in the bottom results pane, I can see all the details here. We have your object type, table, object, expression, etc. And similarly, I can look up any of those functions. And let me try to randomly select some of the function. For example, let me select, say, info dot, maybe let me scroll down and see if I can pick up any interesting thing. If I click on info dot columns, let me run that. Once I run that, you can see these are the various columns, right? These are the various columns in the main table, and also that includes the calculated columns. Let me type in info dot, say, for example, let me say, let me type in info dot functions. So this will list all the information about the functions that are currently available for use in the DAX programming language. That is cool, right? We can see how many functions in total they are there in DAX. These are the various functions. As you can see, if I scroll down, I can see these are the various functions which are listed, which are currently available as of January 2026. So what I could do is, in case if I want, I can do a count on this number of functions. So count rows I can use, and this is the table, info dot functions. All the info functions return table. The return value is a table. So if I add a table constructor and run this, I see that there are 465 functions which are available in DAX language as of January 2026. So what I could do is I can start looking at some other functions which we thought which are subset where we could use them in any kind of calculations, right? So for example, in case if I type in info.view, these are the four different functions which are available. Say in case if I type in info.view.columns, and let me make sure that I remove that curly braces, the table constructor. And in the results pane, once I run this, I can see all those things, right? I can pick and choose whatever, in case if I have any descriptions, those will be listed. I have the data type, data category, description, expression, etc., right? Similarly, for measures, I can see all of them, and I can pick any of those particular fields, like name, table, description, data type, expression, formats, etc., right? So what I could do is I can always look at some other of the view functions, info.view, relationships. For example, I can see what are the tables. If I run this, I can see that there are two tables, the measures table and also the main table. So now that we have understood this part, let us try to explore a little bit. Let me click on info.measures, info.view.measures. These are the things. So like I was saying, you can pick any of those fields which you are interested in, right? For now, let me pick some random fields, maybe name, expression. So what I could do is I can start writing simple DAX code. So let me add this code here. To save time, I have pasted the code. I'm using select columns function, and select columns expects a table as the first parameter, name and expression, right? So I want to pick up three fields from that info.view.measures table. So once I run this, for example, I'm good now. And in case if I want, I can add some other fields as well. Say, for example, I'll give a name to this field. I will say display folder, and I can pick up the display folder field which is there available in the bottom results pane, right? So once I run this, I have those 1, 2, 3, 4 fields there in the results pane, right? This is perfect. So similarly, in case if I want to look at the columns, I can do that. I will type in evaluate, and let me use info.view.columns. Let me type in info.view.columns. And if I run only this part, I can make the selections and run. These are the various fields which are there in the results pane. So similar to the measures, I want to look at all the fields and maybe make a selection out of the number of fields. For example, I want to filter. I want to look at the calculated column code also as well, right? So let me use the filter function over this particular info.view.columns function, and I'm using not is blank for the expression, and also I'm trying to pick up type and name and syntax. So once I am happy here, I can just run this particular code block. Let me do that. So I can add any fields, but for now I'm trying to make it simple. And if I run this block, as you can see, those are the three fields which we have from info.view.columns. So this will show you all the calculated columns which are there, and that includes the syntax, right? At a glance, I can see everything here. See, if I want to combine both of them, I can use the union function. The first part we have already seen. This is the second part we have already seen. Once I run this, I can see everything together. So I can see the type, name, and syntax. That includes the different types, that includes measures and calculated columns, and also the name of the measure or a calculated column, and the syntax. This is perfect, right? So this way I can document, I can share these particular details with somebody else, and I can maybe create a report page. I can do lots of stuff, right? I can just copy this code, and since it is a table, I can go ahead and let me just copy it, and let me go to table view. Let me add a new table, and let me paste this code. So that way I have all these details, all the measures, including the syntax, name, etc., and also all the calculated columns. Everything is together. And once I commit to this code, that particular table is ready for me. So this is perfect, right? So let me just make sure that I make sure that there is no syntax errors there. Let me just add, let me close the parenthesis for union function and selected columns, and let me make all the changes there. It's all syntax errors, so everything is fixed now. As you can see, we have all those three columns which are available for us separately in a table. So this is perfect, right? Like I was saying, you can share all these details with somebody else, or maybe you can create a report page. Let me try to go to report view, and maybe I can add, say, maybe a slicer, text slicer. So let me grab the name field and add it to this text slicer. So this way, user can search for a particular type of measure or calculated column, right? So in the bottom, let me add a table. And for the table, let me bring in all these fields from the table which we have just created. Maybe table name, syntax, and type. Let me bring in all those things, and we have those things here, name and syntax. This is perfect, right? We have those two things. So in case if I want to do a search, let me just type in maybe some name of this, maybe a measure or a calculated column. Let me try to type in, say for example, TOT, total, and once I type in total and make the selections, I can see there are two measures. And on the right side, you can see that is the type, and I can see the syntax. I can improve this, right? I'm not worried much about the look and feel of this report page, but at a glance, I can see everything, and all the measures and table calculated columns in the single table itself. For example, if I type in percentage, I can see that this is showing up. This is perfect, right? So I can always change a little bit the look and feel here. So let me make sure that I can export this data, for example. And like I was saying, I can export, save it as a CSV file. So that way I have my measures and calculated columns, that code, everything is there. I can share it with somebody else, or maybe I can use these things in some other place. Report, another report or something like that, because directly there is no other option other than using any external tools. You cannot do that, but by using info functions, we are able to create a table and then create a report page. I have made changes here, formatting and all. If you hover over any kind of row there, you can see the syntax and the name. And like I was saying, you can type in AVG. You have those three measures there, which are starting matching the filters text slicer, right? So this is pretty cool. And in a short time, we understood the need for using info functions. In case if you want to document and everything, you can do that. Like I was saying, you can copy the total table, and maybe you use any kind of favorite program. Let me paste it here in an Excel program or something, and you can use this and as a reference point or use it to do some modifications. So this is pretty cool, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video.